Of all the things I could be recording today, I'm recording a book haul. Yes, I did just move across the country. I had packed away most of my books and I thought that I was set. But apparently, when I'm moving across the country, I see extra space in a little box. And I'm like, I think I have something to put in that box. And some of these are straight up not small. So I don't know what I was thinking. I'm not sure what I was thinking. I don't know why I thought this was a good idea. But thankfully I did it because we're going to be here till like December-ish. So it kind of all just worked out. I'm going to start with the encyclopedias and then I'm going to move to the smaller, more manageable books just to get the heavy ones out the way. First, A History of the World Map by Map. I am a sucker for maps. I'm actually not even sure why. I actually don't even care about the later times, but I have multiple books on maps, and as of right now, they are actually all in storage. I'm not sure why this type of stuff is just all for me. To be fair, I have quite a few encyclopedias that I actually use, and this helps with my world building. It helps when I start thinking about possible alliances or relationships that different kingdoms, countries, places have because of the fact that this establishes trade routes. Some of these that I have also established the currents of the ocean, the currents of the wind, the magnetic fields on the planet. All of that impacts the world to different, levels and nuances. But I'm building quite a substantial world and I want to know how our world can be applicable to a fantasy situation. So that's why I got History of the World Map by Map. It just made sense to me. The next one I got, these are heavy. Science. I'm also realizing a lot of these are DK books. I'm just a sucker for that series. The Definitive Visual Guide. So this is the history of every scientific discovery from the beginning of the Stone Age. How cool is that? And I realized I actually don't have something like this. And it's important to me because I write 1600s and earlier, and I don't want to write like shoddy contemporary 1600s. I want to at least know what I'm supposed to be writing about. What is it? The printing press. They didn't have mass production of books until XYZ year. I actually don't know. I haven't read this book. And I've never really cared about the printing press. However, if I start talking about the mass production of books in the 1400s by some magical style, I at least want to know that that's inaccurate, Quinn. Your writing doesn't really make historical sense, and I have to be okay with it. I don't want to unknowingly, make a historical claim that doesn't make any sense. I want to know the history, and I want to be able to speak to, I actively chose to change this. I actively chose for books to be mass produced in the 1300s by magic, even though I know that the printing press didn't come around until, late 1500s, early 1600s, and Martin Luther kind of took hold and, established the church. That's what I like doing. Yes, my stuff is not historically accurate. I write historical fantasy. I like being able to speak to the actual accuracies and be able to explain my creative choices, but I can only do that if I know the history. In my opinion, this is way too intense. Most people don't do this, but that's why I got science. And honestly, past like the 1700s, I really don't care. But it's everything earlier than that I'm going to companion read with my Bronze Age encyclopedia and see where there are gaps. Because I can also, the beautiful thing about having a physical book, I can also add pages of my own research coming out of the Bronze Age encyclopedia that's not in here, that's more relevant to stuff that I would be researching. So this is going to probably be really important to me. And should I protect this? Oh, the inside's actually really cool. Hold up. Well, sort of cool. Hold up. I don't know if I want to like bind this so that it covers. What's the cover like? I might just put the dust jacket somewhere while I use it. I think that's a better idea. The next book was actually absolutely random. I'm not even sure why I got this. I know why. The DC Universe Encyclopedia. I love DC. And I don't even keep up with it. I don't know why I felt the need to get this encyclopedia. I will read it because I have favorite characters and I have like every time a movie comes out for DC, I'm like, oh, I don't really know what it is. So I have to catch up on which universe we're at, which lifetime, and also the jazz. So I really do like DC, and this is my first DC encyclopedia. And in the similar vein, y'all, I don't know what happened. Pride DC and the women of action of DC. I just felt like this had to go hand in hand. So now I have my whole little DC reference because I actually use other comics and I use movies and books. Most of the books I read are for a purpose. Most of the things I watch have a purpose. This will help me in some capacity because of how extensive the universe is. There's just such minute characters that might be an answer to a question that I have. So I have it. And because if it's about pride, I have to kind of get it. And women in action, I think DC has some of the most amazing women. And not really an encyclopedia, the history of Japan. I actually love little magazines, you know, because I'm old. It tracks. So this is the history of Japan. And there's quite a bit on here of the Heian period, you know, immediately after the Heian. I'm not sure because I'm not an ancient Japanese scholar. Like, I wish I was. I'm getting there, I guess, at this point. But that's why I got it. I'm still on this Tale of Genji shtick, and it's going to be that way for a whole year. I'm glad that I'm reading the Tale of Genji. I am establishing such amazing research best practices for myself. That also means that I do need to brush up a little more. Or maybe not. I actually know quite a bit about it already. But I want to learn more about it. And I want to be able to understand the context. So that's why it's turned into a year-long reading endeavor. Long story. That is why I got this. That is it for the encyclopedias. I am going to go through the books that I got. And I'm going to speak to why I got each book. And I'm going to read the first line of each book. Because I think that is just magical. And if it's like one line, I might do like a paragraph. I don't know. I want to read the first line, I want to look at the first page of each book I bought. So let's get started. This also might take a minute. So grab like a drink, pause, grab a drink or something. So really excited. I was also excited about the encyclopedias, but most people don't get excited about encyclopedias. That's okay. First and foremost, the Tale of Genji. Our friend is still here. This is actually the Royal Tyler translation. And the reason that I got it is because, gotta hand it, Royal Tyler did his job. Like, there's the opening poem. Like, Penguin showed up. List of characters, their connections to previous chapters, their relevance to previous and future chapters. Like, this book is actually so comprehensive. There's a reason that it's the Penguin edition. And I kind of got over my issues with Royal Tyler, which if you don't know about, they're really not worth the mention. He was a scholar and he dedicated his life to Japanese literature. Look at the translations of any Japanese lit, and I'm sure Royal Tyler is on multiple of those editions. I understand his life's work, and I need another point of reference for my translation that I have by Dennis Washburn, the Norton Critical Edition one, because of, I have it with me. Why am I acting like it's not within reach? Hold up. I needed a companion translation to the Dennis Washburn translation because of the fact that I'm going to be saying some pretty, I wouldn't say they're radical because queerness is just common in my life, but for other people it'd be queer, and I'm not about to forego my due diligence and compare two different translations. I cannot read the original text. Japanese scholars can't read the original text sometimes. It is very difficult to read. I only have what these translators are allowing me to read and what they decide to interpret. And I say that because there are certain passages in the Tale of Genji that I need to compare to hear the dynamic of Tonochuji and Genji, because I haven't read anything talking about how Tonochuji and Genji were probably lovers. There's a polyamorous culture happening in the Heian court of Japan in the Tale of Genji. I have a book of an emperor in the Heian court of Japan, which is like prime Japan, I guess. It's where kind of Japan was founded. So everything classic Japan comes from the Heian period. And I have a book where the emperor takes a male and female lover. There are transgender characters. And stuff happens, but there's a representation. Emperors have had male lovers. Men have had male lovers. I think that we don't get that here because Western scholars translated it. And you know, historians, right? They were such good friends. They are both trying to sleep with this lady, bump into each other in her bushes between the Tale of Genji, okay? Genji and Tonochuji are both out in their nightly escapades, because that's how it's done in the Shady Heian court of Japan. That's one of the most problematic points of this book. They bump into each other and Chuji's like, I know you've been ignoring me and you haven't been honest with me, and that hurts my feelings. And Genji's like, what are you doing here? And he's like, well, I'm here to court her, but I saw you here, so I waited to see what you were doing. And then I realized you were going to see her and not me. Let's please tell me. And then Genji's like, I am sorry. I have been so, what did he say? It was the sentiment of, I have been neglecting our friendship. And Chuji's like, I know, and it's really sad. And Genji's like, I'm sorry I made you sad. And Chuji's like, it's okay. Do you want to go hang out tonight? And he's like, yeah, absolutely. So they both leave the woman they're both trying to hook up with that night, get into Chuji's chariot. Is that a chariot wagon? I don't know what it is. Get into Chuji's ride, essentially. And Genji has his ride towed next to him, and they spend the night together. I'm not saying that they're doing anything romantic. I'm just saying they left the woman they were both trying to sleep with to go be together. And there is also a juxtaposition between another attendant that is extremely loyal to Genji, like we are disposing of dead bodies and going into exile for purification and quarantine, right? There's this whole process when you're dealing with the dead. And this guy is disposing of the dead bodies. This guy is setting Genji up. He's wrecking lives for Genji. But there's a very different dynamic between Chuji, who is his bestie, and this other guy whom I forget, poor guy, who is his very loyal attendant. There is such a difference, but they're both told to be Genji's like right-hand men. All this to say, before I go on a gay rant, I want to have done my due diligence to compare the two versions that are known, Dennis Washburn and Royal Tyler, who is everywhere, and Royal Tyler, who writes about women. Royal Tyler writes about women, and sometimes you step in it and it doesn't really make sense, but you know what? He tried, and he has actually contributed so much scholarship to the best of his ability to the Tale of Genji and women of the Tale of Genji. He started his essay that went kind of sideways at one point, that Genji was a womanizer and a jerk and hurt Murasaki her whole life. That was the only essay that started like this about the relationship of Genji and Murasaki that I have read thus far. Tell me if I'm wrong. So I need to see what Royal Tyler makes of the Chuji and Genji relationship. So I have all of those pages annotated. I have the chapters, and I'm gonna go compare passages, and at one point I'm gonna sit here and have a passage by passage comparison of the Tale of Genji to whoever wants to listen. It might just be me, but you know what? I gotta talk to somebody. That just sounds so lonely. All right, that's enough of the Tale of Genji. But I found the translation at a used bookstore while I was out, and I had to get it. Yes, that is the only mammoth. Oh, wait, before I get the Visual Reference Guide of World History. This is like a pocket guide version of all of the encyclopedias that I have. I used to have this. I got rid of it when I moved to Chicago because I'm like, I don't need it. Shame on me. This is such a fun little pocket-sized reference. It doesn't have everything, but it has enough that you can go and do your own supplemental research, which is what I use these for. And I love this. Like, this is just perfect. Super happy I got it. I got it at Barnes & Noble for what, 12 bucks, and then my discount, because of course I'm a member. Highly recommend this. If you don't want to like start gathering giant encyclopedias, these little pocket visual guides are perfect. I saw this book and I'm just like, if this book isn't for me, I don't know what is. I say that about almost every book I buy, but that is definitely not the point in this case. Polar Wives by Carrie Herbert, by a woman. A collection of the wives of famous polar explorers written by a woman. This is amazing. I know the names of all of their husbands, and now I will know the names of all the wives. And I will know how they suffered. I will know the steps they took to find their missing husbands, because some of them didn't return. I am so excited to companion read this in the winter with like other polar exploration books. So that's what I do in the winter. I read polar exploration books. I am so excited. So let's read the first sentence of the introduction. A flimsy tent clung to a desolate beach in northwest Greenland, surrounded by boulders and flattened alpine flowers. I love it. We are immediately in a desolate place in Greenland. Beautiful. It was the height of summer, 1891. Polar Wives. I'm so excited. And I'll be here in the winter, so kind of check it out. Oh, I should have done this one first. Man, the world just like, look, more receipts. The world is just telling me. How was I ever going to find this? I didn't even know about this little bit. Am I going to start the introduction? Or should I start? It's a long introduction. I'm going to start at the actual diary. The Diary of Lady Murasaki. Y'all, I was in a half-price books looking for a translation of the Tale of Genji. What do I find? A Penguin edition version of her little diary that was kept. I don't know if this is the entirety of it. I know that we don't know a whole lot about Lady Murasaki. We know everything about the Tale of Genji, but about herself, I know that it's not as common. The Diary of Lady Murasaki. Tell me the universe isn't telling me to continue reading. That's why I got it, because obviously I'm reading the Tale of Genji. I'm gonna read the first sentence of her actual diary, not the intro. As autumn advances, the Tsuchimikado mansion looks unutterably beautiful. That's how she starts her diary. And there's like a really long intro, so I'm gonna be interested to see what all there is, what they could have possibly said about the book that's like the same length. Oh, to be fair, the Heian period is pretty dense, so it's probably just like supplemental text about it. This one, I don't have any of these. Okay, let's start first. The Portable Feminist Reader, edited by Roxane Gay. I have quite a few feminist readers already. They're all in storage. But I was attracted to this one because of the way that they divvy up the sections. Let's see. Laying a Foundation, Early Feminist Texts, Multicultural Perspectives, Feminist Labors, Gender Considerations, Black Feminism, Sexual Politics, Feminist Praxis, Looking Back and Looking Ahead. And all of these are written by a diverse set of researchers. There's mythology that is commented upon here in the feminist labors. There's multicultural perspectives. And I thought that was extremely refreshing and interesting because I have the other feminist readers, but I'm not sure that they're divvied up that way. So I figured since everything was going into storage, having this as a pocket guide for reference would be helpful, especially because I am also taking both a queer and feminist perspective analysis on almost everything I'm reading. For obvious reasons, most of it's queer anyways. But that's why I got this one. The next book I got at the same place I got the Portable Feminist Reader. I got it at Women and Children First in Andersonville. My Oceans by Christina Rivera. This is actually a collection of essays of water, whales, and women. I am a sucker for anything about the ocean. I'm a sucker for anything about the Arctic. This is an essay collection, which I've been trying to read more. I don't know why. I just, like, essay collections are rough. I have to care about the topic. This is about water, whales, and women. Just tell me this isn't for me. And I picked it up and I'm like, I feel like I need this collection. My friend's like, that sounds right up your alley. I'm like, yes, I know. Thank you for supporting it. Oh my God. I was not going to read the introduction, but I have to. Hold up. Author's note. Let me start with the author's note because of what I called it. Okay, My Oceans by Christina Rivera. Author's note. This is not an essay collection, not a gathering of things once scattered. This is a book of essays, each piece born under the same moon. I'm so glad I picked it up. So it's divided up into acts. Act 1 is submersion. Act 2 is migrations, and Act 3 is fathoms. The first essay in Act 1 is called Blood Moon. Let's read the first sentence. My bed offers me no comfort. We're starting off strong. My Oceans. I'm so excited. I might pair this with the Polar Wives one, actually, which I also got at Women and Children First. I like that idea. The next book I got because of one line on the back. The Hole by Hye-yoon Byun. I'm sorry. Winner of the 2017 Shirley Jackson Award. And the reason I bought it? Misery meets The Vegetarian in this bestseller from Korea, a psychological thriller about loneliness and the dark truths we try to bury. You drop The Vegetarian, you drop Hong Kong, anywhere, and I am there. Case in point. I'm just struck. In this book, we follow Ogi, who has just woken up from a coma from a car accident that killed his wife. His caretaker is his mother-in-law, as she is grieving the loss of her daughter, and he is neglected and left alone as his world shrinks to the room he lies in and his memories of his troubled relationship with his wife. Tell me this doesn't sound like it's just going to be devastating. Let's read the first sentence. Oh my God, look at that. Okay, so the whole. The chapters start like that. How artistic. Ogi slowly opened his eyes. The light was blinding. We start with this guy waking up from a coma. The whole. And this was also an accident. It was a half price. It was at half price. I literally just like picked it off the shelf and I'm like, Hong Kong lend me here and I'm gonna read this. I got this at Dollar Tree. It was $1. I otherwise would not have gotten this and I'm slightly embarrassed, but my friend said it was okay, so I got it. Sense and Sensibility and Sea Monsters. Tell me why I got it. Sea Monsters. And it was $1. I would never spend real money on this. Like, that's the most I would spend on something like this because I just can't believe I did get it. But my friend, who also gave me a Bigfoot romance book that is somewhere in this unfortunate pile, told me I should get it. Checks out. She told me I should, so I got it. I don't even want to read the first sentence. Oh no. Oh my gosh, it is illustrated. What the heck are we doing? First sentence. The family of Dashwood had settled in Sussex since before the alteration, when the waters of the world grew cold and hateful to the sons of man, and darkness moved on the face of the deep. From the publishers of Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. Comes a tale of romance, heartbreak, and tentacled mayhem. What have I done? Why is this on my shelf? I need to put this next to that Bigfoot romance. I'm not talking about this no more. This one, Gilgamesh. I finally got it because I will be reading this book in 2-ish weeks, I think. So I'm going to be reading Inanna and Gilgamesh hopefully in the same week. I had Inanna, I needed to get Gilgamesh. This follows Gilgamesh as he's trying to save his family and his burning city while he is apparently on the run. And that's about all I know. I actually don't know a whole lot about the Sumerians trilogy. I just know that I'm reading it. But let's read the first sentence because I have not. Prologue. I was mopping up after an elderly dog when the news swept through the court. The great Sumerian hero Gilgamesh had been captured in battle. I might just read the first 2 sentences. I feel like that's appropriate. Interesting. So we start off with Gilgamesh in prison. Checks out. He probably did something terrible. I only say that because he was such a crazy character. If you know anything about the Epic of Gilgamesh, you know that this guy was bananas. So it checks out that he was finally thrown in jail for being like a tyrant and a danger to himself and his own people. But I did finally buy this one. I'll be reading it this month ahead of the completion of the trilogy in September with the 3rd book of the trilogy, Ninja Bar. I don't usually buy queer YA. I have to really be sold on the cover. I have to really just be like Fake Dates and Mooncakes. That one I saw, I'm like, yes, we're doing this. Yeah, I have 2 on my shelf right now. One is Skater Boy. I don't have a whole lot to say. Like, literally, I picked it up because it's been on my TBR because I'll read anything queer and YA. And in this pop punk debut about queer romance and destroying labels, a teen risks everything to write his own story. And I'm all about a cute punk gay kid. So let's read the first 2 sentences. Oh, look at this. Dear Reader. Dear Reader, and it's a note from Anthony Narada about how he felt when he listened to Skater Boy and how he wanted to write himself a happy story with the Skater Boy. Stop. That's so cute. I'm not going to spoil that. You guys read it. The book starts strong. I'm only going to read the first sentence. I hate people. Definitely fits the Skater Boy theme. Okay. First of all, I'm not big on love triangles. That is just really not my thing. And this cover's telling me we might get a love triangle. But the reason I got it is because there were people of different backgrounds. There's people of color on the cover. And it's about magic. Yes, let's see what this is. In this book, we follow queer Marquis Emile, who longs for independence, but when he is threatened to be disowned unless he produces an heir, he runs away to live as a commoner until he can bide his time and come back and reclaim his inheritance. I can't make this up. This was a great selection. So Emile runs away and he wants to bide his time to reclaim his inheritance. He ends up working for the Count Montoni and his family, who apparently suffer an ailment every full moon that requires full sedation. Wonder what that is. Apparently at some point a corpse ends up on the estate and Emile can't fathom the lengths that Count Montoni will go to keep his family secret. Oh my god. Enter the handsome doctor, Brom, and the Count's charismatic nephew, Henry. Stop. This is just all sorts of nonsense. I'm so glad I got it. This is gonna be so fun. Okay, look at that, just extra art. I love this. All right, part 1. Part 1, Chapter 1. It is June 1st, 1873. I'd never seen a dead body before. Or rather, I'd never seen part of a dead body before. Wow, we start off strong. Okay. Oh my gosh, this is so fun. Look. Okay, so first of all, they start off the chapter with this like full moon. Ominous. And every page break is a syringe. That is so fun and creative. And of course, the text has to be super eerie and super creepy. Oh, this is going to be a lot of fun. I'm glad I got it. Now, we get to the top 3 books that I've bought. We get to the top 3 books that, if I had not gotten any of these, I feel like I needed to get these. We'll start with The Dove in the Belly by Jim Grimsley. I got this simply because it's a Jim Grimsley book. I've read 1 or 2 other books by him, and his books are usually short and really heavy in topics, and they don't have like a traditional happy ending. This book follows Ronnie, who is shy, antisocial, and tries to keep people at distance to protect himself, and Ben, who is at the university on a football scholarship. He is boisterous, outgoing, with a slew of girlfriends. These two kind of have like a bully and bullied dynamic. The back makes it sound like it's more playful than anything. But among that, there's a lot of tension as the 2 boys navigate a really stressful situation with broken family homes and the tension building between them as they kind of go further and further into this story. The Dove in the Belly is about the electric, dangerous, and sometimes tender, but always powerful attraction between 2 very different boys. I read Dream Boy by Jim Grimsley. I'm so scared about how this one's going to end, but I'm ready. I think I'm ready. Maybe not. Not the point. Let's read the first 2 sentences. Out of the blue she called. He had learned to dread news from his mother. The title's called Homeless. The Dove in the Belly. I'm so interested to see how this like title plays out too. One of the books that I had to get. One of the books that was not optional. Watermoon by Samantha Soto Yambao. I'm starting this book next week. I am so excited. This book. A woman inherits a pawn shop where you can sell your regrets. And then she goes off on an adventure with a physicist. Stop. This cover immediately drew me in. Whoever designed it, beautiful. The inside has instructions on how to turn your cover into a sailboat. That's the inside of the dust jacket. That's the book. Look at this work of art. There was so much thought put into this beautiful book. I started next week. I'm so excited. Let's read. I haven't read the first 2 sentences yet. Oh, okay. This is so gorgeous. For anyone in search of new beginnings. We've all been there, y'all. Chapter 1. The Pawn Shop of Almost and Ifs. Time has no borders except those people make. On this particularly cold autumn day, Ishikawa Hana fashioned that border out of the thinnest layer of skin. I'm already stunned. Watermoon. I'm so excited. And the last book that, now that I know of it, my literary life just would not have been complete without it. Run Away With Me by Brian Selznick. I finished this already, and it killed me. It was so good. In this book, we followed 2 boys that we know as Danny and Angelo through their summer love in Rome. And it ends at the end of the summer. And how all these lives from the past, how the history of Rome itself and the people that created iconic Rome, how their stories are intertwined with Danny and Angelo's. Let's read the first 2 sentences. I'm going to read the first 2 sentences of the prologue because I read the first page and I wanted to cry. Behind a huge wrought iron fence on the 2nd highest hill in Rome stands the Monda Museum, which isn't really a museum at all. There are displays and dioramas, but mostly it's the home of an organization dedicated to saving old books. Tell me that's not the most beautiful premise. to a tragic love story set in Rome. I finished this book. I'm still hungover from it, and it was amazing. Those are my books that I bought in the middle of my move, which I should not have done, but I did. And I'll probably buy a handful more books before I get out of here. Overall though, those books should hold me over. And it will force me to read my actual TBR, my actual physical TBR. Let me know if you've read any of the books that I just got, what you thought of Runaway With Me. I will be posting about it. I will be talking about it. I will be just gushing about it in a sad way. And I will also be doing that for Watermoon. Watermoon is going to take a minute though, because I have like a whole thing planned for Watermoon, but I'm very excited. Let me know if there's any of these books that you think are interesting, any of the books that you're interested to hear about. I'll probably do vlogs for all of these. I'm realizing I do vlogs for the books that I'm reading for myself, not the ones for like book club for some reason. Mostly because I do audiobooks for those. I don't know. This is my book haul. This is what I'm reading. This is what I am up to. No, I did not plan to get this many books in the middle of my move. I did get a scolding because I did promise that I wouldn't be buying books. Clearly that didn't work out. That's it for this video. Catch you guys next time. Bye!